Hey everybody, it is Tuesday. I almost said it was Monday. I'm very confused by this week, but it is Tuesday, the wait for it. It's the 30th, isn't it? It's definitely the 30th. It is April 30th, and I am just completely out of sorts. But I have been able to get a little bit of reading done, not a huge amount, not as nearly as much as I would hope, but I've just been super distracted because Game of Thrones kind of decided to just crap all over itself, and so I've been raging on the internet a lot. And honestly, today at work, instead of listening to my audiobook like I would normally, I just listened to a whole bunch of angry reviews of the latest episode of Game of Thrones. And that was how I spent my time. It was very cathartic. I needed that. I needed that moment. But as far as reading goes, I am around page 200 of The Name of the Wind, and that's going pretty good. It's still like kind of slow right now. I'm kind of waiting for something to start happening because it's very meandering, which I'm not against, but I feel like reading it at the same time as reading The Lord of Chaos may have been a mistake. Lord of Chaos is definitely pretty slow so far. It's a whole lot of making plans and trying to figure out what plans make sense. There's a whole lot of just trying to decide what happens next, and not actually a whole lot of stuff happening currently. So when you have that coupled with kind of that slow meandering start to Name of the Wind, yeah, it's just I'm struggling a little bit with these two books. I feel like I've been hitting the epic fantasy a little too hard lately, and I love me some epic fantasy, and I can usually read it pretty consistently. But the last few months I have been like pretty much exclusively reading it. Like I read other stuff, but I've been really hitting epic fantasy lately, and maybe I need to pull back a little bit and read some other stuff. But at the same time, I set that pretty extensive TBR for myself to try to finish over the second quarter. And I want to do it. Like, I want to achieve that. The Name of the Wind isn't even on that TBR. So clearly I'm not, like, too strict about sticking to that. Because The Name of the Wind was definitely not on that TBR. And I started reading that for no good reason. I just wanted to wait. I just wanted to wait for that third book. Because it wasn't enough for me to be in a position where I knew I was going to end up having to wait for the last Game of Thrones book. I wanted to also wait for the last in the King Killer Chronicles, because I just enjoy misery. Hey everybody, it's Wednesday. I've been sitting here reading The Name of the Wind for the last little bit. I'm about 250 pages in now, and something's occurred to me with the character of Kvothe, is that he is probably like the best embodiment of the disparity between intelligence and wisdom, like the intelligence and wisdom stat in Dungeons and Dragons. He like dumped all of his high stats into intelligence, and he's got like zero wisdom, which he's definitely young at this point, so I'm interested to see how his character develops over time and if he becomes more wise. But he's making a lot of dumb decisions, and I'll say right now, the only reason he's survived the early portion of this book is dumb luck. Like, he just got some dumb luck in there, because he should have been dead like half a dozen times over, and it was just dumb luck that has kept him alive up to this point. But yeah, it was just really apparent after he goes through this process where he just shows off his intelligence for like 5 pages straight of just him just like nailing it intelligence wise, and then something that was just so common sense obvious to me, like as soon as it was said, I was just like, oh cool, yeah, that's awesome. And he misinterpreted it and then like had the worst reaction, and I'm just like, how can you be this intelligent and also so very dumb? But that's him. That's like his character to a T. He is the dumbest intelligent character that I've ever read about. And I'm interested to see how that progresses, because I would like to see that as he matures, he becomes more wise, and he realizes that it's less about how much you know and more about how you present yourself in the world, and how careful you are about your reactions to things, because I have a feeling that he's going to be very young and brash in this book, and then as it goes on, he might get more and more deliberate with the way he interacts with people, because he has some pretty bold reactions. He kind of he assumes the worst in people, which he's earned that, but at the same time, it's real dumb to do that, because if you assume the worst in people, you're gonna get the worst, and I don't know. It's not setting him up for anything good in the future. I have a feeling it's going to be one of those books where I'm constantly questioning how this character is still alive because of the dumb decisions that they make. Because already there's been several times I'm just like, yeah, that character, he's totally dead at this point. And he's not, just because of dumb luck, I guess. Which I'll accept. I'll accept a certain amount of dumb luck, but if it continues to be a theme through this whole series, I might get a little annoyed. Because yeah, he needs to learn from those mistakes early on and really become someone who's not only intelligent, just like book smarts, and knows a lot of facts and information and can learn stuff really fast, but he also needs to be really clever and wise about what he does and the actions that he takes. And so far, I'm not sure that he's presented himself in that front, but he's very young. So I'm hoping that the story is supposed to progress in such a way that he gets more and more wise, ups that wisdom stat as he goes along. But right now, I'm just constantly questioning how he's still alive. Hey everybody, it is Friday. I just filmed a bunch of crap. I don't really know if any of it was quality, but I filmed it. I got something accomplished with my day. Reading wise, not a huge amount to update you guys on. I'm on page 300-ish of The Name of the Wind. I'm hoping to get a good chunk of that one done tomorrow. I'm basically free tomorrow, so I think I'll be able to really sit down and pour into that one. I am having some issues with it. I knew I was going to be fairly critical of this book going into it because it is praised so highly. It's ranked up there quite frequently with Song of Ice and Fire, Lord of the Rings, Stormlight Archives, which I haven't read, so I can't really use it as a comparison. But I've read several of A Song of Ice and Fire, and I have read some of The Lord of the Rings. I've read A Fellowship of the Ring. So I know that's high marks to put any series in. And so when I'm reading this, the whole idea of this telling a story within a story is really brilliant of Patrick Rothfuss, because he can basically get away with anything and just say, well, it's the unreliable narrator aspect, right? You've got this guy telling a story, he's just telling the story, however. And I just can't quite figure out if this book is really brilliant or really dumb. There's several things that happen that the main character just made some dumb moves. Was just really stupid. And I get that he's young in this part of the story, but as a direct result of some of the stupid things he's done, very, limited, fallout. There's definitely been times, here's my biggest complaint, there's definitely been times where this character should have died. This character lives on the streets for a little while, he should have died. There's moments in that the only reason he's alive is because of dumb luck. And I feel like that's lazy. I really feel like that's lazy, but maybe there'll be a payoff for it later, and again, just in the back of my mind, I'm just well, maybe it's not as bad as he made it out to be. Maybe he's exaggerating how bad his circumstances were, because it's a story, right? And so that's the brilliant side of the book, right? Because Patrick Rothfuss could just say, yeah, he's a storyteller, right? So he's just exaggerating how harsh it was on the streets, and therefore making a good story. But at the same time, I'm just but it's really dumb because he couldn't have survived that, and so then you're just sweeping any of your plot holes under the rug by saying, oh, it's a story within a story. You got I have problems with it. I think my biggest problem with it is I would really like Patrick Rothfuss to write something that isn't told in this manner,
just so I get a better feeling of what type of writer he is. Because I don't know how much of the weird plot hole aspects of this book are more to do with the fact that he himself just failed and wrote in some plot holes or wrote in some things that weren't really realistic, and how much of it was very intentional on his part because of the storytelling aspect. And I just can't quite figure it out. So, yeah, I just don't know if this book's really brilliant or really dumb. Like, that's just where I land on it right now. If the writer just failed in those respects and didn't think that I would catch the fact that there's no way that this person would have survived, then it's dumb. But if this guy is so meta, he is so meta in his thing that he has taken the time to write circumstances that are just so ridiculous, but understanding the fact that it is ridiculous because it is a story being told, then I think that there's a lot to be said for that. I think that there's an edge of brilliance there. There's certainly an edge of brilliance for deciding to tell your book in this matter, because if you have any plot holes, if you have any mistakes that don't make sense, you can just sweep it under the rug and say, listen, this is his story, and this is how he has chosen to tell it. And if there are things that are misleading or things that are exaggerated, that is that character's decision, and that is part of the story as I presented it. And, like, you can just get away with anything. Like, this is how all authors need to write books, because then people can never complain about their writing. Because, basically, you can just blame everything on the character's decision, on what they chose to put in the story. It's probably the smartest thing that you can do as a writer, is to just figure out a way to blame every little hiccup with your book on your main character, because your main character is the one telling the story, the memoir style of telling his story. Yeah, that's solid choice there, Patrick. Well done, sir.
So it's Sunday now. I just got back from scrubbing floors, which is a fun Sunday activity, and took a shower, and I'm going to do a closing clip for this vlog, which I feel like isn't that interesting of a vlog, not to mention the fact that I don't really have enough time to edit it properly. So enjoy this one. It's going to be a cobbled together mess. I do have a kitty here though, so this will make up for it. There, make my video good. Well, that's worth a like. The only update I have reading-wise is I am on chapter 69 of The Name of the Wind. It is like 470 pages in. So I read a good chunk of it yesterday. And man, even though he's just like the biggest dum-dum ever, I still find myself really invested in Kavoth's story. Like, I think I'm really gonna end up liking this series, even though there's some problems with it. There's some writing choices that I'm not sure are smart or dumb. The whole idea of intelligence versus wisdom is definitely a point to be made in these books. It's not unintentional that even though this is a very intelligent character, he is making a whole bunch of really dumb decisions. That's all intentional, and it's not just poor writing. That's supposed to be in there. However, like, I don't fully know about some of the things that I consider to be kind of conveniences or plot holes or exaggerations. I don't know how many of those are really intentional because of the way in which the story is told. I could definitely see like a lot of the stuff is being exaggerated. Like, I could definitely see that Kavoth is definitely exaggerating certain situations he was in to make them seem more dire, because the whole idea is he is a trooper. Like, his family was a group of storytellers, so he knows how to tell a good story, and he knows how to keep people on the edge of the seat. And so the idea is, like, any part of his story you have to take with a grain of salt. Like, they're all like super over the top. But I don't know. I feel like it's still in such a way to where I can't tell, based on the writing, whether some of the stuff is intentional or not. So I don't know if it's written well or not. Like, I don't know how much of the inconsistencies are intentional or how much of them are just the writer himself didn't notice, or the writer himself didn't think things through as well as they should have. and so it's confusing to me. I don't really know how I feel about it. It is getting me thinking, and I do like a good unreliable narrator, and I think if it's done right and it's done well, it can be a really interesting story. So I'm gonna see how this progresses. I know the second one is actually like called A Wise Man's Fear or something like that. So definitely the whole like wisdom, intelligence aspect of it that I picked up on right away is going to be a thread that goes throughout the books, I imagine. So maybe as he matures, he'll become more and more wise, and understand that wisdom is to be valued as much or possibly more than intelligence. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that happens if we ever get that last book. I don't know what I'm expecting at this point. But that's all I have update wise. I have a kitty on my lap, so B-roll footage time. We're gonna just shoot some gorgeous footage of this cat while he's hanging out, and then we'll get a closing clip with some music explaining my entire editing process. It'll be great. It'll be beautiful. It'll make you feel so good and happy. And yeah, this is just nonsense all around. I apologize for how slap happy this vlog has been, because I haven't really been in my right mind this week. Mostly I'm gonna blame Game of Thrones. Like, Game of Thrones really messed me up this week, guys. It's real dumb. It's real dumb what happened there. I just realized that I've been eating popcorn. I think I'm good. I think I don't have any, like, really awkward kernels there. I may have spit out a little bit of a kernel earlier. In case you wanted to know that. Oh, gosh. Oh, alright, well, you'll see me in the next one.